As we look ahead to the race to become the next mayor of our city, we take a closer look at some of the big issues and challenges facing the capital. Tonight, we start with the controversial expansion of ULEZ last August to all London boroughs. Sadiq Khan said it would help clean up London's air, but others say it's unaffordable and impractical. Here's our transport correspondent, Tom Edwards.
Is ULEZ expansion still potent politically, or as an issue has it disappeared? Andrea is a childminder from Surbiton. She uses her car to transport kids about. But as it doesn't meet the emissions standards, it costs her £12.50 a day.
I don't usually vote anyway because it's above me really. But this time I will definitely be voting for Conservative, because she has promised that she will stop the ULEZ from day one.
What about people that say it does improve air quality for everyone? Don't you want that?
Yeah, I can understand improving air quality, but don't give us just a year to find a new car.
Love Sager is a musician from Catford. He's also raising awareness of air quality. He thinks ULEZ will make people vote for Labour's Sadiq Khan.
I speak to a lot of black, racialised and lower socio-economic class groups here, and they like ULEZ just because they can see the difference it's making.
Do you think they'll vote for Sadiq Khan then?
I think they will vote for Sadiq Khan, because any mayor, any candidate where you want to improve the transport and the clean air around us, then of course they're going to go for that.
ULEZ expansion faced opposition. It means older, more polluting vehicles have to pay £12.50 a day if they don't meet pollution standards. So what do we know now?
Since the ultra-low emission zone was expanded out last August, it's brought in over £130 million in revenue, about 23 million in fines and 108 million in charges, but the amount it's bringing in is decreasing.
TfL says ULEZ won't make any money by 2026 as drivers switch away from more polluting vehicles. So has it cut pollution? It's too early to say for sure. Official figures aren't being released until after the election. But campaigners claim initial unverified data suggests air quality has improved.
Well, we've seen sharp reductions in nitrogen dioxide concentrations when the ULEZ was introduced in central London and inner London, and that's what we're expecting to see in outer London. But it is a path that we're travelling down, which is compliance rates, signs of nitrogen dioxide coming down.
We know that it was his damaging and costly ULEZ policy that lost them this election.
Politically, ULEZ came to a head last July when Labour failed to take Uxbridge and blamed ULEZ. The mayor then changed his scrappage scheme so all Londoners could apply. So could ULEZ influence again?
Well, ULEZ could make a difference in a very, very tight mayoral election. If it was running, 40-40, then it could make all the difference. All the polls suggest it's a wider difference than that between Sadiq Khan and Susan Hall, but it will actually be a narrower vote when we come to it on the day. So it doesn't look as if it's going to be a sort of knockout blow for Sadiq Khan, but it is still there, it shows up in the opinion polls, and it will change some people's votes.
A controversial flagship policy, how and if it affects the mayoral race will be decided on May the 2nd in the ballot box. Tom Edwards, BBC London.
As we saw there from Tom, there does seem to be clear political dividing lines on ULEZ. Let's join our political editor, Tim Donovan, on the campaign trail in West London. And Tim, are the feelings about ULEZ having a lasting impact?
I'll tell you how it could be having an effect. Up until very recently, Sadiq Khan had been set on exploring the bold next stage, which is using technology to look at how you could charge motorists when they drove and how far they drove. But because of the blowback over ULEZ, and because Susan Hall, his Tory opponent, is saying he has plans to introduce paper-mile road user charging, he's had to rule it out if he was mayor for the next 4 years, and has instructed Transport for London to stop doing work on it.
To provide clarity and to avoid my opponent's scaremongering voters, I wrote to the Commissioner to make it quite explicit and quite clear. No work should be done on that.
No preparations at all. No preparations that might progress road user charging pay per mile, so it might be ready, for instance, after the end of the next mayoral term.
So we do know that the mayor before me, Boris Johnson, began work in relation to road user charging. It was in Boris Johnson's transport strategy, and the wording was carried over to my transport strategy.
And you're stopping all of that? All of it?
I'm quite clear we've already stopped all of that, all of it. It's really important that Londoners are reassured that as long as I'm mayor, that's not going to happen.
Why are you telling us now that it's not a good idea when you spent the last few years saying it is a good idea and it's what the London needs?
Because since then, we've expanded ULEZ to cover the entirety of our city, so we now know that Londoners will be breathing cleaner air. But also, I've announced last week that if I'm re-elected, by 2030, every single one of our buses is going to be zero-emission carbon rather than 2034. We already have the biggest electric vehicle taxi fleet in Europe. More than 8,000 of our taxis are electric. There'll be more going over the next period.
But does it raise issues about your principles here, that you are not prepared to pursue this idea further, even though many people say it's the smart way to go, it's what London needs?
According to independent experts in London, since I've become mayor, we've got the boldest policies to tackle the climate emergency in the world. Londoners can be confident if I'm re-elected, we're going to carry on making progress.
Pressure had also been mounting on Sadiq Khan from pro-motorist campaigners. Howard Cox is one of those. He's now standing for the party reform as their mayoral candidate, while Susan Hall is saying she would just reverse the expansion of ULEZ. Mr. Cox says he would get rid of the ultra-low emission zone altogether.
London is a clean city already, and it's getting cleaner not because of ULEZ, it's getting cleaner because we've got clean fuel technology, and we've got new cars and new trucks and things like that. We should be looking at hydrogen, we should be looking at fuel catalysts, all those sorts of things. We do not need to hit those poor families in the pocket.
He said he would never bring in the ULEZ expansion, and he brought it in. He's put it in his own book. It's in the transport strategy. He wants us to believe he won't now because he knows it's very unpopular, but if he becomes mayor after May the 2nd, he will bring it in.
As Tom was saying earlier, expanding ULEZ is going to bring in many hundreds of millions of pounds over the next couple of years, but it is forecast after 2026 that income to fall off because it is assumed a lot more vehicles will then have become compliant. And I suppose a question for any mayor or our next mayor, whoever that is what you're going to do for income and money then.
OK, Tim, for now, many thanks. That's Tim Donovan, our political editor.